Hello, Reds. Welcome back to Liverpool Latest. I am your host, Matt. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like or a like on the podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Be sure to comment down below if the platform allows you to. And last but certainly not least, be sure to follow or subscribe to the show because why wouldn't you want to miss everyday news of Liverpool when you got me here? Anyway, I got a couple things I'd like to start with today. First and foremost, we're going to be doing a bit of a hypothetical with Curtis Jones. Now, I kind of touched on this a little bit in the last video, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth again in regards to Curtis Jones and the situation with him. Now, even though his contract doesn't run out until 2027, I still think it's of pretty big importance to keep him with the club. One, considering we're already now starting to extend a lot of other members in the midfield. Gravenberg, obviously, this past weekend was the first of hopefully many of those signings. Szoboszlai will probably be soon to come. I would not be shocked if we see that news here in a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months. McAllister is also another one that people are concerned about. And there's a few others in there. But honest to God, I feel like Curtis Jones has got to be included in there in some way, shape, and form. Now, I'm not sure what kind of money he's looking to get in a new contract, but especially considering that he's not a regular starter and mostly used off the bench, but he's also been a pretty big staple in the midfield. You know, he stepped up when there have been guys who have been unable to play for whatever reason. And I feel like with us prioritizing other members in the midfield, I think it would be a slap in the face to Jones, who's come up through the academy system, to not at least have an offer presented to him, even if it's not one he necessarily would prefer, because maybe he thinks he deserves more money or whatever, or more playing time. But I feel like the fact that there hasn't even been news of a possible offer being made is quite telling on the club's behalf, considering how much of a staple he has been. I mean, and again, to be fair, like I said, he's going up against some pretty stiff competition to be re-signed here and extended. I mean, Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Gravenberg are all going to be guys that are priorities for us, considering they were big signings years ago. And I can only hope that if they do re-sign Curtis Jones, that also comes with a little bit more of a expanded role on the pitch. Again, and I have said this before and I'll say it again, I am not like the biggest Curtis Jones fan. That said, I do think that when he plays well, and it shows on the field. And there have been times where he has arguably been one of the better players on the field when he is on. So I think the idea of him leaving kind of bothers a lot of people, especially after the whole January deal with Inter Milan, right? Like, because they were clearly looking to get some people interested in the idea of signing him. And thankfully, that deal didn't go through. But the idea that that was even approached, or a team even approached on behalf for Curtis Jones, it should be telling of how other teams view him at this moment in time. And the thing is which is weird, ever since the whole Trent deal happened, like, the idea of homegrown talents leaving bothers me a lot, because, like, clearly I'm not going to sit here and say Curtis Jones is a club legend like the likes of, Trent, but he's certainly been a staple. And the other thing that matters is he's also the last true Scouser on the team that plays, it seems, because we've already traded sold, I should say, a lot of our players, especially in the academy system. Jarell Kwanzaa's gone, Ben Doak, Kelleher, and a few others. I mean, Tyler Morton, another one. So the fact that we're basically selling off our academy players, or players who have come up in the academy, is a bit, it's kind of a bummer. Now here I was yesterday. Let's talk about yesterday. Here I am talking about all these potential or if not already, great players that are in the academy system. And who's to say that if we acquire other players or prioritize other players from outside the club system, and we don't like promote those homegrown talents that we've spent so much time and money and whatnot, what does that say about the academy system then? Like, are they just basically getting an education through playing football and then getting shipped off somewhere instead of actually playing for a club that they've been pretty much with their entire careers up to that point? I mean, I know football and sports in general is a business, but I mean, at some point you got to look at yourself and be like, as a fan anyway, and be like, man, it's kind of fucked up. It's kind of fucked up when you think about it. Sports is a very brutal business to be around. So I think the fact that the article I was reading, which I'm referencing today, is the strongest piece of evidence that I saw. It's important context to bring up is that Jones wasn't mentioned in the Times report about contract renewals at all. And it seems like the absence of his name in the article is not necessarily confirmation of a transfer plan, but it could also mean that the idea of an inevitable exit could be extremely exaggerated. Now, I'll say this again: 2027 is still about a year away. There's a lot of play time in between then and now, unless they decide to sell him in the summer and get something out of it. But you ask me, um, I would like to see the stalemate broken at some way, shape, and form. I would like to see that someone's offering somebody, or I'd like to see that the club is offering him some form of a contract or some form of middle ground of a contract compared to what they're willing to pay for him and what he is willing to accept. So I hope that they take this into account that Jones has always been a very good hand to, and I know it sounds like an insult to some, but Jones has always been a very good hand when it comes to being a player and reliable. So for me, I think the idea of not even attempting to sign him and seeing what they would rather get out for him or get for him is a bit of a something that needs to be not studied, but something that needs to be looked into a little bit more, for sure. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with Curtis Jones in the following months, because clearly he has been a very important player to the team as of late, and I would like at least to see the team acknowledge that a little bit more. Of course, here I am talking about all these players that we need to re-sign. Here are some players that we are rumored to be eyeing in the transfer market. One of those happens to be Anthony Robinson, who currently plays for Fulham, and a fee of reported £25 million. Manchester United, because why wouldn't they be? They hate our guts, is also united in, or United, Jesus, is also been mentioned in trying to eye him as well and unite him into their club, let's say. Now, there's a reason why he's being linked to Liverpool. They're reportedly planning, the eventual succession of Andy Robertson, which I hope it's not soon, but when that eventually does happen, Robinson certainly fits a lot of the criteria, such as the elite pace and recovery, defending, very high stamina for overlapping runs, and of course, strong Premier League experience. After all, he is playing for a smaller, lesser, shittier club in Fulham FC. So, for me, why not bring him to the big leagues? Why not bring him to the Big Four or the Big Six or whatever we're considered among the league? But we're definitely one of the biggest teams in the league, so why wouldn't anybody want to play for us, right? He's also a bit of a tactical fit under Arne Slot as well, considering fullbacks are expected to provide width in an attack and, of course, deliver crosses from wide areas, and last but certainly not least, support the pressing transition. So, considering that Robinson has a lot of speed and attacking output, he fits that role quite well. Now, the rumor's plausible because of that fee, that £25 million fee that we are attempting to get him for, or that we would attempt to get him for, which is honestly kind of a steal. The fact that Fulham's offering that much money for a player of that quality, I would argue and say that that would be a no-brainer down the line. That said, I also just remembered that we also have Kirkes in that role too. So obviously Kirkes is going to be the number one guy once Robertson leaves. I think that should be said. I think that should go without saying. I will mention it anyway. But Anthony Robinson should also be someone that is very considered for that role as a depth piece for sure, because just like the right back position, we are kind of suffering from lack of depth in the left back position. And I know we have players that can play interchangeably with some of those, but I would prefer that we have a definite, dedicated player for that role. Another player that is being discussed is Moussa Diaby, who, of course, has huge competition. He currently plays for Al Ittihad, which is probably in the, I believe that's in the Saudi League, if I'm not mistaken. Now, bear with me here because there's a lot of teams that are reportedly interested with him. Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich, and Borussia Dortmund. So, we are under a lot of competition to acquire, or at least attempt to make an offer to Diaby for that. Why would these clubs want him, you might ask? Well, Diaby is known for the explosive acceleration, of course, direct dribbling, counter-attacking threat, and the ability to play either wing, which is a very big deal. You know, and the qualities are valuable for teams needing players that are 1v1 attackers, something that Liverpool has reportedly been seeking. So, the problem is that the reality check of the situation is this rumor is much weaker than the Robinson one, mostly from the source, which is not necessarily a major transfer authority. It's from Football.in. I'm not really sure where that site is from, but it's not one I have heard of. It just so happened to come across my screen. I was curious about it. Of course, Diaby has already moved to Saudi Arabia recently, so making an immediate return to the Premier League or Europe in general would probably be very unlikely. And of course, 7 major clubs being linked at once is definitely some sort of agent-driven speculation for sure. So out of the two, I would say Robinson's obviously the best bet to look at. Just for the fact that we need players for depth, because like I said, once Robertson leaves, it's just Kirkes pretty much as the pure left back role. So if we can get him, that wouldn't be a bad idea if you ask me. Next up, as we all know, today is a big day in the Champions League. We are facing Galatasaray in Istanbul. So it is the first leg of the round of 16 matches, and it's going to be very difficult because, well, we returned to Istanbul looking for revenge after a very embarrassing 1-0 loss earlier in the year in the group stage, or whatever it was considered, like the team stage. So for me, I'm saying it's going to be scary, man. I'm kind of nervous. Like, I'm actually genuinely nervous about what's going to happen with this match because, I mean, we were also playing when we played this match, we were playing at a time where the team wasn't at its best, clearly. Actually, let me see who was even on that team at the time, because I think we were having a lot of injuries. Let's see. We were playing, well, I guess we were playing at the time a 4-3-3. And of course, Kirkes was still kind of learning the position or learning his role. He wasn't probably doing very well. Jones was on that team, on that first team that we had against them. Gakpo, Ekitike, and Wirtz were also in the front three. Frimpong was in the right back position. Allison was in goal for that game. So, all in all, as you can see, you know, it could potentially be a lot of the same team, but it also wasn't a lot of our best players on that team. And I know we've had some injuries since, but it seems like the team has gotten just a little bit better since that awful, awful experience back in on September 30th. Wow, that feels like forever ago. I actually had to go and look at when that game was played. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so we did finish the league phase strongly, which is very good. You know, we had 7 wins in the 9 matches. We've obviously had some big wins in the FA Cup, beating Wolves this past weekend as well. Galatasaray has also been very impressive in their own right. They qualified via the playoff round, beating Juventus of all teams in a 7-5 goal aggregate. So it seems like they are going to be stronger competition than any of us originally could have thought. So, what should be our approach in this game? Typically, we build under a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-2-5 attacking structure. One fullback inverts into the midfield, 2 midfielders control the possession, and of course, 5 players occupy the attacking lanes. So, what we need to do, which has been some of our key strengths recently, is certainly focus on the high pressing and, of course, the wide overloads, where Mohamed Salah and the wingers will be isolating the defenders, creating more 1v1 based matches. And of course, we need a fluid forward line so strikers like Ekitike can drop deeper in connecting play. I also think, generally speaking, we just need to do a better job attacking in general. The fact that we struggled for as long as we did against fucking Wolves of all teams should go without saying that it's going to be a little, it's going to be tough. I mean, after all, Gala aren't no slouches. I mean, if they beat Juventus by that much of an aggregate, one, it's a little bit telling of their defense. Their defense, while a little bit weak at times, could also be stout, and their attacking is just as stout in that regards as well. So, of course, they rely on the quick counterattacks and, of course, direct play into Osimhen. At least I think that's how I say that name. And, of course, they rely on aggressive wing play. So, key tactical battles that we need to keep an eye on. Salah versus the Gala left back. Osimhen versus the center backs, which is going to be a big battle. And, of course, control in the midfield, where Alexis McAllister needs to get better tempo control, and at least he'll be a part of that tempo control. So, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about the potential of what's going to happen, okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched every Champions League game in the world, but I know we performed better in the Champions League after those couple of losses we had earlier in that season. That said, just because we perform better in the Champions League does not mean the problems that are plaguing us in the Premier League or the FA Cup are also not going to plague us in the Champions League. I would hope that we at least get the advantage in the aggregate by scoring at least 2 goals. I would hope Gala would score none, but if they happen to score 1, at least we still are ahead in that regard. So, my only hope is that we put out enough offense and enough goals to make the aggregate null and void come the next match when we face them in Anfield. But there is going to be one problem with that. Because apparently earlier today, not too long after I had set up all of my notes for today's video, Fabrizio Romano drops a damn bomb and reports that Alisson Becker has an injury that will prevent him from playing and starting in the match against Gala, which could not have been any worse news at a worse time. Okay? So now we have to rely on Mamardashvili to get the start, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, let's go, Georgi. Let yourself prove to the team and prove to the fans, and prove to Arne Slot all that stuff, because Arne Slot hasn't been playing him all that much." I still don't trust him. And in the few things that Arne Slot does that I agree with. Not playing Georgi Mamardashvili is one of them, because I do not trust him as far as I could throw him. I'm not going to sit here and say Allison has been stellar all season, because clearly he has been not, but in the small amount of time we spent with Mamardashvili, he clearly couldn't do as much as Allison with the time that he was given, and I am left weary in that regard. Now, shitting on Mamardashvili aside, what does that say about Allison? That this man cannot keep himself healthy. Apparently, he's in his 7-year career, he's missed like 82 games due to injury, which is an absolutely insane number if you think about it. So for Allison, people are saying that he is fragile. People are saying that he's going to become a detriment for us when it comes to health in the future. I've even seen things that he might be the most fragile goalkeeper in recent Premier League history. And as much as I love Ali, I'm inclined to agree with a few of those things, because we shouldn't have to rely on him all of the time. Well, we shouldn't have to rely on our backups all of the time. Granted, they should also be playing in their own respective competitions, like the domestic ones, like the FA Cup. I don't think that this particular match, as important as it might be, should be left to a backup. But for whatever reason, he picked up an injury, whether it was over the weekend or in training or something along those lines. Clearly, whatever he picked up and whatever he got as an injury is preventing him from moving forward to play in tomorrow's match. Or today's match, I should say. But I don't know. I'm nervous now. I'm very, very nervous. So I think the setup for Gallo is going to be a little bit better as far as the actual starting lineup goes, but Mamardashvili in net leaves me very, very uneasy. He's had some good highlights, but I don't trust him. I don't. If he has gotten more playtime in the FA Cup, I would feel a little bit more relaxed. But I haven't really seen him play all that much since that couple of games stretch he had where he didn't perform all that well. So we are going to have to see. Thanks for watching Liverpool Latest today. Let's all collectively hold our breaths for this gala match. And most importantly, I want you to leave a like on the video or the podcast, a rating, whatever you got to do. Be sure to rate the show as best you can. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the show. Anything I could improve on. Anything I've talked about that you would like to have me explain a little bit more. Or do you have your own thoughts on what I've talked about? I would love to hear them. Last but certainly not least, follow the damn show, man. What are y'all doing? You're already here. Might as well subscribe. Helps me out. Helps Fan Arch out. Why not try to help me become one of the #1 channels for Liverpool news and rumors? Thanks for joining me today. Let's hopefully this gala match works out in our favor. And anyway, up the Reds, and no, you'll never walk alone.